Now, the Federal Ministry of Finance is government's body that manages the finances of the federal government of Nigeria, including managing, controlling, and monitoring federal revenues and expenditures. The parastatal collects and disburses government revenue, formulates policies on taxation, tariff, fiscal management, as well as prepares and manages the annual budget. Well, while the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investments helps diversify resource base of the economy by promoting trade and investment with emphasis on increased production and export of non-oil and gas products. Well, I introduced him earlier, and he's live in the studio. He is the Director General of Nigeria's Employers Consultative Association. He's live here, Mr. Adewale Oyerinde. Good to have you in the studio. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us.
Yes. I'd like us to start. I know, we've had a lot of issues before the ministers came in. Now they are in. So first, I want to say, Mr. Wale Akinterinwa, a lot has been said about him, but it seems like there's a lot of work for him. So what are you thinking? What is running through your mind? Then we'll pick it up from there.
Well, he has a legacy, a trailing name. He has some antecedents.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is known to most stakeholders, and while he was special advisor also, there was a bit of engagement, and yeah, there was a pointer that he would likely play that role, but the president expanded the scope to coordinating minister of the economy, which is also a huge one.
Very big.
Bringing us back to the Wale era, So for us, we think he has the potential to succeed, barring all issues that might come up. And once they are able to marshal all the ministries, all the agencies, all working directly to achieve the same goal, the renewed hope, as they call it, of Mr. President, then the potential to succeed is quite high, very, very high indeed.
There's always this argument that the minister could, I asked Mr. Africa Farmer earlier too, that the minister could come in and say, let's get working, let's get to work. But some people might just be somewhere and they just want to frustrate that effort. How do you see him bringing people to think along the same line? And I don't know, that civil service, people believe that you always want to delay things and not let things just work the way we work in the private sector. How can we change this mindset?
It depends on the leadership first. Once you have your deliverables set, and then you distill the way we do it in the private sector. You have your deliverables, then you break those deliverables into KPIs.
Yes.
You allocate each staff, each level, having their deliverables, and you monitor how each staff's outcome is an input to somebody else's work. Once you create that structure that is based on performance, then it becomes difficult for somebody to hide. It becomes difficult for somebody to frustrate the system as a whole. And once you identify the moles in your system, those you think are there to frustrate the achievement of that goal, then you try as much as possible to bring them in. And if if they've chosen a path of destroying the work that you want to do, then you find a way to get them out of the system.
Nigeria economy is indeed challenged.
Absolutely.
We know that we can go on and on. We have issues with our currency. We have issues with inflation. Just yesterday, NBS released figures talking about unemployment rates and all of that.
Yep.
So where do you think we're going to start from sorting all of this out? Where do you see it starting from?
I think what we've done and what the president has done, basically, and if you recollect, he said, if you find yourself in a hole, the first thing you stop doing is to stop digging. And what we've done now is to stop digging. And because of the depth of the hole you find yourself, the process of coming up might take a bit of time, a bit of stress, might not be as quick as you are digging. So we think the policies that have been put in place, the removal of first subsidy was the first major fundamental policy that was implemented. Yes. Successive governments in the last two, three regimes have not been able to do that.
At all.
So we're able to do that, saying, look, there is something that is changing. We are determined to do things differently. Yeah, the consequences of the first subsidy, we're all facing it now, and we hope the government will be more proactive in dealing with those issues. And not only just coming up with those policies, also thinking concurrently with, look, if we do this, these are the consequences, then what are the mitigating strategies, or what are the mitigating steps that we'll put in place to ameliorate the effect of those policies. But fundamentally, But the finance business, which will play a major role in this whole narration, in the context of the fiscal and monetary policy, managing the forex.
I pray there's a synergy this time around.
We hope so. Also because of this, the role of Mr. Edu now being the coordinating minister of the
that's true. That's true. I think so that should be better.
Intergovernmental synergy and interagency synergy will be one of the critical things that will either determine how successful we be or how bad the system will go under its watch. What we saw in the last administration was a lot of ministries, a lot of departments and agencies working at cross
purposes.
Even the fiscal and monetary policy heads were also contending with each other. Not only contending in the inner room, in the fake chambers, they're also contending with themselves in public. Which doesn't give confidence to investors.
Of course.
An investor that wants to bring his dollar to this environment to invest, and you can see the monetary and fiscal policy authorities publicly engaging at cross purposes. Then it gives you the impression that, look, this environment is not an environment in which I should do business. So once they can handle that, they can deal with the intergovernmental alliance amongst themselves, and also they deal seriously with the issue of fiscal discipline. That's another major issue that he has to deal with, and we believe with the support of the president, he will be able to achieve that. First, that does be a good step. There are many issues to deal with, but the strategy which we have canvassed is look at all the issues. Frontally face 1, 2, 3 issues that has the potential to drag every other issue towards the trajectory of growth. You can't deal with everything. You'll be overwhelmed. A mortal, with the kind of problem we have, a mortal will be overwhelmed. Even those of us that are not in government, that are operating at the level of the private sector, sometimes you look at those issues and you probably will need an energy drink to
continue.
So imagine the quantum of the problem of this country. You just pick 3, 4 problems that has the potential to drag every other issue along with itself in the trajectory of growth. Then you will have affected the most number of issues that are facing not only organized businesses, they are affecting labor, and then affecting all households as a whole.
When you talk labor there, I remember minimum wage. But let's talk about we're at the point of palliatives now. Yeah. Government's giving out handouts and a little bit of grains and all of that. I know many people are not in support of giving handouts, but it is what it is. What is your reaction to that and how states are going about it? We've seen some distribution so far. What will I say? Is it getting to where it should get to? Data issues here now.
Well, it comes back to the issue we've always advocated. We hope seriously that it's not turned to political patronage again. It's not turned to giving those that voted for us. The palliatives, the 5 billion naira is basically meant for Nigerians. And sometimes we think that 8,000 is too small. But until you meet a family that have not seen 5,000 in a month, they are eating from hand to mouth. Part of the report by the NBS said about 133 million Nigerians, they are multidimensionally poverty. Now, if you give someone that is multidimensionally poor 8,000, it makes a bit of difference. It is not sufficient. Yeah. It is not enough. Yeah. It might not make a long-term difference, but it meets a need. Now, the 8,000, and I'm talking like a businessman now, the 8,000 will not be eaten on itself. The individual will probably buy food, will probably buy sugar, will probably buy milk, will buy something to eat. Now, it's feeding the economic process because it's feeding the consumption process, which goes back to businesses. Then businesses remain a bit sustainable because of the quantum. The stock level reduces because somebody is off-taking the stock that you have. Now, because the business can also sell its products, it's in the position to also remain sustainable. It's in the position to keep employees at work. And because employees are at work, they are able to pay school fees. They are able to pay landlords, because the landlord is receiving rent, is also able to patronize the woman selling food. So it creates a circle. So the more the palliatives in the quantum of cash, the more it fuels the production process, the economic process. You might not see it in the short run, but on the long run, it trickles down, it has its consequential effect. Suffice to say once again that the 8,000 really, within the context of the cost of goods and services now, is not really sufficient. We wish government can do more, and we hope that what is being shared now, in the context of Naira, in the context of grains, we actually get to those that actually needs it, not you.
Let's talk here now about the Ministry of Trade and Investment. That's also a very important ministry because we need to attract investment, particularly at this time. We have FX issues, and businesses should be able to repatriate their monies, because that's the only way they can also have confidence in doing business here.
Absolutely.
So I think Dr. Doris Uzoka-Anite has a lot on our table to deal with our trade policies and all of that. But I like something she said, that we need to project Nigeria's image in a very right way, rebrand our products and all of that.
Absolutely.
I don't know how that comes to you.
Well, it is. One thing that is working, that we work for her, because she has a lot of stakeholders that are interested in driving this conversation about trade, about investment, about promotion of made-in-Nigerian goods. Sometimes in July 10 and 11, we organized the second employer summit, and the theme of that summit was promotion of trade and non-oil export, because we realized that really, for you to change the narratives of this country, beyond the NNPC getting $3 billion loan, beyond ramping up oil revenue, I think what we change our narrative is productivity.
I agree.
Produce locally. Empower the manufacturing sector. Empower the service sector. There is no reason why public schools should not wear a made-in-Nigerian uniform. There's no reason why the ministries and agencies of government, if they can't wear it 5 times a day, there's no reason why we can't say, look, for 3 times a week, everybody must wear a Nigerian print. You will feed the textile industry. Yes. So we must create a system, or she has to create a system, and I said she has the goodwill of many stakeholders, including us, NECA, create a system where she can drive the patronage of made-in-Nigerian goods from the top. Not that government, they are all wearing suits and wearing ties, and you are insisting that Nigerians should patronize made-in-Nigerian goods. It won't really work. And she also has to focus on the issue of ease of doing business. It's very important. Ease of doing business, then you have the potential to actually attract investment into this country. So those are fundamental things that she has to do, and we think she has started on a very good note. Not forgetting the issue of non-oil exports. NEPC, Nigerian Export Promotion Council, is doing a very beautiful job. We are partnering with Nigerian Export Promotion Council.
Because I'm thinking of how we can ramp up that. We need to ramp up that. Sorry, I had to just butt in. We saw their figures recently, NAPC, 6 months, and they're doing about over $2 billion. I think that's what I saw. And they are looking at the fact that they should, hit higher than what they did last year. How can we ramp this up, particularly AFCFTA? I am getting worried. Are we going to get the benefits of this big market? Yeah, honestly, the number of people around the continent and the GDP of that market, Nigeria cannot be left out. A country of more than 200 million people.
We believe strongly that a major interest for most African countries signing into the AFCFTA is probably the Nigerian market.
Honestly.
We have the market, we have the people, we have the intelligence, and to be unfortunate if we don't leverage on this market we have. Now, NEPC is doing a lot, and we are partnering with NEPC. Now, those institutions that you have identified, I mentioned earlier that just identify agencies, identify policies that will help you to drag a major quantum of your problems out of the doldrums, and they drag all others along with it. Now, all those agencies have critical role to play, and they need to be empowered more. Empower within the context of communication of what they are doing, within the context of scaling what they are doing. Those are the things we need. Once we can do that, then we also deal with the issue of standardization.
Yeah.
Standardizing our products.
Packaging,
which
quality.
you mentioned.
Yeah.
That was a conversation we had a few months ago, and we went to Switzerland, to Geneva, during the ILO conference.
Yeah.
And you see Nigerian products. You see Guinness, and then you see Coca-Cola. They are Nigerian products. And they were not exported from Nigeria. But they are Nigerian products. So they took those products to some other African countries, and those products were imported. And many of those products are like that. So we need to create a culture where we can assist NPC, assist others to standardize our products so that we can maximize the issue of non-oil export. Oil is giving us, oil is already becoming, some say it's becoming a cost. Because now, global oil market, once the oil prices go up, because we are not refining locally, then it affects so many other things for us. Rather than benefiting from increased cost of oil, cost of crude oil, is turning around to become a problem for us. So it's time that, and we believe strongly those will be part of the Honorable Minister's key points of address. How do we ramp up non-oil export? How do we facilitate and ensure ease of doing business? We're happy that Mr. Edwin is the coordinating minister because all of them, the Ministry of Agric, with your last speaker, the Ministry of Trade and Investment, the Ministry of Labor, the Ministry of Environment, everybody have to understand the shared goal and the shared objective of the government. If not, you realize as the Ministry of Trade and Investment is trying to create an environment that is conducive for business, you find the legislature creating bottlenecks for organized businesses. You find some other ministry also coming up with policies that will either stifle or negate the policy of growth that we were talking about. So the synergy, creating a synergy between ministries, between departments and agencies should also be top on their list.
Very interesting conversation. I'm looking forward and looking ahead. Of course, we must always look ahead and see what we should expect. Inflation might continue to be on the high side, especially if we come up. We don't know what's going to happen with regards to minimum wage, like I said earlier. If that happens, what do you think would happen to inflation? And moving on in the year, if we do things right, what should be the output? And if we continue business as usual, what is likely to be the outlook?
Now, for all of us, there's a shock. There's a reality that you can't continue to do business the way you
used to do it.
Even for the individual, you realize if you have two cars, then I drive one, my wife drives one. Now we realize, look, we're tough. We can't put the two cars on the road.
Yeah, so we can't use one.
So there is that realization, the self-awareness of let's manage waste. What is really important to us. And as Nigerians are adjusting, I think it's also imperative for government, for the president and his cabinet to demonstrate that leadership at that level. People have mentioned the issue of escort cars, 5, 10, 15 escort cars. We can't be demonstrating opulence and preach to the people to be considerate. It creates trust issues. So while we grapple with all these issues, we grapple with inflation, mostly issue of cost pull inflation, and we grapple with the issue of stabilizing the naira. We grapple with the issue of dealing with productivity from the national context. Then progressively you realize, it's like somebody going to the gym. When you go to the gym, you go the first day, you have your workout, you feel the pain. You might not see the muscle growing, but progressively, a few days later, you realize yourself that, look, something is changing. My physique is changing. Most likely the economy also. Once we all have that commitment and shared perspective of where we want to go, and government is transparent enough to communicate this shared value to Nigerians, and we can see the genuineness of government action, then it's easy for government to ramp up consensus. And once you ramp up consensus around your policy, it becomes easy for you to be successful. Same thing for minimum wage. Minister of Labor also, Minister of Labor and Employment. Same thing happens to the Minister of Labor. There are so many issues. The national minimum, the labor law is still pending. We also hope we address those issues. The industrial relations system probably need a lot of reforms. The strike is becoming a default now. Breaking of agreement by government is becoming a default. So those issues, we have to deal with it. We have to deal with the issue of social dialogue. We believe strongly as an association on social dialogue. if you have fights, even when you go to the courts, you are also embarking on a form of dialogue. It's just that now there's a judge to enforce the dialogue. So why not deal with those issues before you go to a third party, an arbiter? So the minister have to deal with the issue of social dialogue. We have to deal with strengthening institutions of labor administration. Those are the issues, and then you will have set the foundation for a robust conversation by the National Minimum Wage Committee. So those issues are there, but they are not beyond resolving. With good consultation, with better engagement, and with deepened collaboration with all stakeholders, including the private sector, those issues that we have in this country, they're not beyond resolving.
Time is fast spent already, but maybe just 1 minute. Advocacy for business community. You've been the voice talking. What are you getting back from business people? I'm sure a lot of information coming in at the moment. And what will be your message to them to wrap up? Well,
our message first to the government. This morning, the Federal Inland Revenue came up with a public notice. While we appreciate the government for coming up with the tax reform committee by Oyerinde. It was saddening this morning that a component of the finance tax, that's the third fund, was increased from 2.5% to 3%. Notwithstanding our advocacy that it has the potential to also compound businesses' challenges. The FRS said they are going ahead to implement that component. We want everybody to stay action. Federal Land Revenue, all tax. Let's stay action and allow the tax reform committee to do their work. You can't continue to bury a business while you say we are going to get an ambulance that will take you to the hospital. It's contradictory. So let them deal with that. For organized businesses, I just want to commend the resilience and doggedness of organized businesses. It is difficult to do business in this country. So those that are surviving, that are doing business in this country, we need to give them the kudos that they actually deserve, because sustainable enterprises basically is the foundation that you anchor national development. If you're talking of GDP growth, is the anchor where you anchor employee welfare, because if there's no business, there won't be employees. Most regulatory agencies that were making contributions to NSITF, PENCOM, ITF, if there is no employer, there won't be any contribution. And even in Lagos State, if there is no business in Lagos State, it will be very difficult for the business to survive. So for organized businesses, kudos. I think we'll keep fighting. And for regulators, we want to appeal. Regulators, agencies of Lagos State government, agencies of the federal government, we want to appeal. We need businesses to survive for this economy to survive.
I must thank you so much. Interesting conversation as usual. I've been speaking to Mr. Adewale Oyerinde. He is the DG for the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you very much.